This is Sharing Hope, presented by NAMI Pinellas. I'm your host, Herbie Mack, and I'm here with a lovely guest, Miss Lola B. Morgan, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How about yourself, Herbie?
I'm good. Thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate it. I wanted to give an opportunity to talk about BIPOC mental health, right? And how that looks like. For myself, I didn't know what mental health was. Didn't really see any people talk about it. I guess like us talking about it was like at the barbershops and whatnot. And then for that, I kept a lot of things suppressed, which unfortunately I attempted suicide multiple times. Thankfully, I'm still here.
Yeah, thank you.
And I realized how it's important to, one, see somebody that looks like you, that can talk about mental health, that speaks your lingo, you know what I mean? And for myself, you was the very first person that was like, man, I need an interview. I want to hear more of your story. And not only do I want to hear it, I do want others to see it and be like, oh, okay. She did have a hiccup in life, but she didn't give up. She protected herself, got the help and support. So, with that, I just wanted to give you a platform. But before we even get into like the conversations, just tell the audience about yourself.
Yeah. So, my name is Lola B. Morgan. I have been here in St. Petersburg, Florida for 6 years. It was 6 years on June 10th.
Okay, congrats.
Thank you. I love it here. I feel like, living here in Florida is where I have been able to rediscover myself, to really find my voice, to find my community. Let me see. I moved here from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, ATL.
ATL,
okay.
Right? The Black Mecca.
Yeah.
And so moving here to Florida was a big culture shock, right? And so really being able to be engaged in community in a different way. I think you and I shared a little bit before this how you have a background in television in a sense. And I have a background in entertainment. So I used to work and in a sense have my own radio show.
Okay.
And so it was called the Lowdown with Lola B.
Okay. I like it.
Which was a lot of fun. It was an entertainment segment on Beat Break Radio, which is a AM radio station, and we would chop it up, be able to interview artists. So I remember when living in Atlanta, really being able to go and recruit artists, up and coming artists, which was so much fun. Being able to just really hear people's story, things that weren't portrayed in the media. And so what I would do for my entertainment segment is that I would take someone, a celebrity story that was well known, but be able to find information of them doing good, not the trashy stuff and the things you
not
see
the
in the
TMZ,
media.
like, oh, look at this person doing that, but something like, oh, look, they actually donate to charity and so on and so on. Yes.
Right. Or being able to, I think we did a story once where Alicia Keys and Oprah Winfrey were doing work in other countries to really, support and elevate in education. And so I have just always had a really bright spirit of cultivating space for people. And so coming here to St. Pete and really discovering my voice, I was able to do that, through the discovery of the things that I like to do, which is writing.
Oh, good. Well, can you talk about the shock that you had? Because I know, like, for myself, I'm originally from the Bronx, so coming down here to Tampa and St. Pete, I was just like, oh, people, they're friendly, they saying hi, I remember having a guy in Publix, and I'm shopping or whatever. He's just like, hey, how you doing? And I instantly just looked at him and was like, I don't have any money, bro. Like, just because like the environment that I'm from wasn't like that. So it took me some time to adjust. But for yourself, what was that? What was that adjustment? How did it look like for you?
Yeah. For one, even though I lived in a heavily populated area of Black people or a BIPOC community, the focus in Atlanta is just totally different than the environment here. You have two cities that are totally different. One is a slower pace versus, Atlanta. Other things, the sense of community is just different, right? Your sense of community may be entitled to work, where here, the sense of community is actually doing the work.
Yeah.
And so having to explore both places and sometimes going around even to the grocery store and really seeing a high population of people that did not look like me, living in Atlanta for 20 years, that was just very different. And so I think for me personally, because I'm had also been living in a place where I had family. I could, drive 20 minutes down the road and know someone. So just looking for a sense of familiarness that I didn't have living here, and I had to build that. And so I'm grateful for the spaces and the connections that I have been able to make so far. But I think in the beginning for me, as we talk about the art of discovery, that was very difficult.
Yeah. Likewise, I've been in the BIPOC community seeing, I have friends who are Trinidadian, Jamaican, Puerto Rican and so on, and Dominican. Mm-hmm. And when I got down here, it was like, oh, wait, there's not too many of them that I can relate to. Obviously, like over time, I found them. Yeah. But then with that, it was just like, okay, not only did I have to learn how to adjust, but then some of the people that I used to work with had to adjust, right? Mm-hmm. The buy-ups, not even the buy-up, but like me being from New York, they expect me to be like, oh, hey, what's up, son? What's up, B? Wear a Yankee hat and all that. I'm like, not all of us talk like that. Right. And not all of us wear a Yankee hat and all that. Yeah. And for myself, I sat down and was just like, okay, this is what people expect someone from New York to be like. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be the opposite, but still be authentically me, right? I'm tired of people having expectations of me being like, oh, yo, what's up, son? Yeah, B. Nah, you know what I mean? Like, there's moments when I do talk like that. Yeah. When I'm really mad or vexed. That's when it comes out. But for the most part, I try to be who I am, right? Like, I like to sit down and watch Seinfeld and The Office and shows like that. But I still, at the same time, will look at like Power and all the other shows. Yeah. And I'm like, that's who I am to my core. Right. And I don't want someone who don't know me to just assume, oh, he's a Yankee fan. He only likes rap. He only does this. And it's like, no, like I took it upon myself to, as you said, self-discovery, go within and figure out who am I? Right. And how do I want to represent that person? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like that's something that we all should, in talking about mental health and talking about sharing hope. The summit that we happen to be at today, Healing While Black, really in our communities, I feel like there are a lot of opportunities that are not given for us to show up authentically, as our full selves. And so I really feel like in our communities today, BIPOC people, Black and brown people are really standing in that power to say that, even when you think of the Crown Act or just having common conversations with friends or coworkers, being able to stand in that authenticity to say that, me being this type of way is enough. Yeah. So it really changes the game in a sense. Oh, yes. Yes. So when was the first time you experienced mental health, or when you was like aware of it? Like, man, something's off with me mentally. Can you talk about that? For me, growing up in certain areas, I had an opportunity to live in Memphis. I was born in Illinois. And so I've lived several different places. I think environmentally, I've noticed a shift in, my being and really being able to say, but not really having the language. And so I think here for sure is where I was able to really find and discover all of it. 2016, I lost my brother due to gun violence. And sorry to hear that. It's okay. Thank you. And that just, I don't know, there's just some experiences that you can't even articulate. But I know for sure that it left me just really riddled, inside, outside, feeling really lost. And I knew that something was wrong. I knew I needed to talk to someone. I remember actively having thoughts saying, I feel like a walking zombie. Like I'm doing all the things, my day-to-day things that I need to do, going to work, going home, cooking, but there's no satisfaction in either of those things. I literally feel like I'm just floating on about the day. And so I knew that presence of what I was feeling constantly, that it wasn't healthy. And so I think for me, even being able to articulate the fact that I needed help, and to be able to understand in my body that I don't like how I feel, I think that was very helpful, for me being able to seek help and seek support in that way. And so, in talking to my mom or even coworkers, giving great suggestions to say, well, these are the avenues that you should probably take in order to seek better help. How was that conversation for you talking to your mom and saying like, hey, there's something wrong with me? Did she give out support? Did she have answers? Or was it something of let's sit down and maybe we can go through this together? Or did she already have answers provided?
Sometimes your parents, they come equipped. They come equipped. But one of the things I think during this time, it's like I was feeling these things in pockets. I remember when I was talking to my coworkers, I don't think that they had the education or the awareness to be able to fully say like, hey, this is what you need. They would make just little suggestions about building community. I think the person who really guided me down the path of being able to find a provider was my mom. And so this was at the tip of COVID. You know, I'm already stuffing in the grief that I'm feeling around my brother. And then COVID happens and I'm an essential worker. I'm in charge of managing this property and people, and neither of us have any idea what's going on. We're just told that we have to do these things. We can't really serve people, but we have to serve people. And in my mind, none of it made sense. Yeah. And so after just having a conversation with my mom, she said that you need to contact your EAP provider. And so I called them and I was very nervous and she was extremely adamant, just walking me through the steps. Really being my coach and my guide during that time. And so I think that was just really helpful to have that active support, have someone who is persistent in saying, you know, but also I was willing. And so I think that oftentimes in our communities, not only do we not understand the language, we can't fully identify, you know, what it takes for us to be able to seek the help or know what we're experiencing, you know, to even be able to say it. I feel like a lot of times we're shameful because it's like, well, due to movies or whichever else, however it's portrayed, that's not enough and that's not how we should be able to show up. But oftentimes I feel like we should be able to show up as our full selves. And that's a part of it.
Yes. I wanted to add to the value that you just, dropped all them gems. You know, even for myself, when I realized I was struggling and I reached out to a couple of my friends and was telling them they wasn't equipped. They didn't know how to handle it because it was something that we didn't talk about, right? Like we all go through our BS throughout the day. And then for that, it's like, you know, you just suck it up and you go. Yeah. Very similar to you. I was just in a place of like, I'm just numb. I'm doing these things, but like on the inside, I'm just ain't nothing registering, nothing clicking, right? Like I'm just moving around like emotionless. And for my soul, I realized that this was unhealthy. And then thankfully I went down the Google rabbit hole, right? And was just like, okay, like what is this? And then it was like mental health, like what is that? And, you know, I was just like, okay, you know, when I thought of mental health, unfortunately, I thought of like, oh, you know, people getting in the white coats coming to get you and then all of that. So it was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to suck it up and not talk about it. Wow. So I personally want to say I applaud you for being brave enough to reach to your mom and say, hey, look, something's wrong with you. But then also, you know, shout out to moms for being equipped and letting you know, like, hey, maybe we can go down this avenue and so on and so on. But you mentioned earlier that you was writing. Is writing something that you use for coping?
Absolutely. From a child. Someone used the phrase today. She said, I experienced low self-esteem. And so that I'm going to walk into that phrase. I said, you know what? I like the way you explain that. So, you know, I had very challenging experiences in the way that I saw myself as a child, you know, due to bullying, due to a lot of different factors. And so writing and reading was kind of like my escape. Okay. I would say reading was my escape. Writing was the therapy. Writing was the tool, the catalyst to like really work through. And so I remember my mom always saying, you know, if you can't say it, you need to write it. And so writing just really became something that I was really good at, you know, being able to tell captivating stories, really in the third person sense, because a lot of it were my life experiences. And so I would share my work through writing for online magazine companies or starting my own blog site, which is really how I end up starting a Griot's Corner as well. But writing has just been the catalyst of it all. It's it's still what keeps me. I find now my writing has turned a little bit into graphic design.
Evolving, but it's called evolving.
Yes,
it's called evolving.
yes. But the creativity, I feel like we cannot escape our creativity. I mean, it's the playfulness, the things that we find joy in, the things that we find pleasure in. And I have always found pleasure in writing and in reading and just being able to engage in that way.
You mentioned something. It's a phrase that I always use. Well, not even a phrase, the word play. As we get older, we don't play as often, right? We think of playing as child's play. And for myself, playing helps my creativity, right? So I'm a massive basketball fan. So my coping strategy was playing basketball, right? That was the only thing that I didn't have to think about whatever problems, the outside problems. I could just react on the court, just have a good time, and so on and so on. And not only, now that I look at it, that I'm older, I realized that not only basketball was my coping strategy, but it was also my support group too, because that was people that was holding me accountable, right? Like, man, hey, you're playing terrible defense. Yeah. Somebody calling you out. Okay, I gotta step it up. Hey, you're missing all these shots. Okay, I gotta step it up. Hey, do such and such. It was accountability, but then it was also, it gave me that support of like, man, these are the same people that we live in the same environment. Yeah. We're going through similar things. Right. We don't want to talk about it out loud. Yeah. But on the court, we just like a brotherhood, a bond. So that was one of the things that helped me mentally was that. And then outside of that, it led to great friendships, right? Oh, man, hey, man, I'm going through this. Oh, man, you too, man. Yeah. My mom is tripping too. My mom. And that helped out. And then also coloring, right? Now that I'm a father, I have two young kids, so they like to color. And for me, even before I had kids, I colored as well because it helped slow the world down because sometimes it was moving way too fast. Yeah, it's so true. And now we have social media. So it's like, man, whatever social media platform you're on, you're looking at this person and they look like their life is fabulous. And then you look at your life and you're like, man, yeah, I'm in the studio apartment. Like, yo, this ain't it. Right. And you can beat yourself up and you build your self-esteem will go from an all-time high to an all-time low. And I found that coloring helps me just stay present. Wow. Just stay like, look, man, with coloring, there's no rules. Yeah. If you want to color outside the lines, guess what? You can't. Right. And you can use whatever color you want. Whatever colors you want. If you want to make a orange Superman, you can make an orange Superman, right? Like whatever you want. And this is how you see life. And this is what helped you and your mental health just be at peace. So that's some of the things that I'm glad that you did share. And then, since you mentioned coping skills as far as like, building up your self-esteem, what is another one that you use? I would, if I can say a coping skill that I'm using now is like in ways to honor my voice, it would be like not being afraid to be vulnerable. And I know in our community that is just like, it's like it's a stump in the road, yes, It is. It's such a big thing in our community because we have been hurt generationally. But I also feel like, and I know that I have found more healing in being vulnerable and being able to stand authentically in my truth. And there's layers to it, right? I think a lot of these things that we're talking about, they don't happen overnight. No. One of the things that I actively made my practice, instead of setting like a New Year's resolution, I'm going to lose weight or I'm going to eat better. My resolution was just one word. Like, what's your one word for the year? And I think in 2020, I said that I want my word to be authenticity. And so in that, I found that I wasn't being as vulnerable, that I was still guarded in a lot of ways in my friendships and just the way that I still, as close and as giving as I was still protecting myself from something. And so I think in, the art of discovery, really being able to be reflective in what is it that we are offering ourselves an opportunity to really explore, but also the things that we want to receive. Vulnerability has been my new coping mechanism. It's been my new saving grace because in that I can trust in these spaces that I've built and that I am constantly advocating for. And not only just me doing the work, I know that within that authenticity, I'm also teaching my partner, I'm teaching
my children, I'm teaching my parents to love me differently based on who I am today. And I think really being able to make room and have, as you said earlier, having the courage to be able to do those things, it's an aha moment for those around you too, to be able to take accountability to say, you know what, I can try that on.
Yes.
I can try something new. So that's where I'm standing. What about you?
Ooh, I would say self-talk for me.
Okay.
I didn't really have a lot of confidence, very similar to you growing up. And I had to learn how to build that up. Right. Mm-hmm. Somebody didn't teach me that. So, I had those awkward moments looking in the mirror and telling myself, I am love. I am smart. Mm-hmm. I can change the world if I just believe.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I had to do was just like look in that mirror and just understand, like, man, I may not be the sexiest man alive by voted or whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, I am sexy. I love me for who I am.
Yeah.
Right. Like I love all the flaws, the way I talk, the way I walk, and so on, and learning how to accept that. And so every day I wake up and scrub my face, and then I actually look in the mirror and I actually talk to myself. Right. Like I want to start the day off in a positive way, but who's going to lead it off? Me.
Right.
Right. Let me build that confidence in myself. So if I am driving and somebody cuts me off, I'm not even bothered by it, right? If I get a email or a text that something fell through, I'm not even going to be mad. I'm not going to be disappointed, because you know what? I have the confidence that it's going to work out. It will be good. Yeah. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And understand that. So I think self-talk is a major thing for me. And then believe in that. So even like very similar to you, I teach my kids that, right? Like, building that up so they know, because unfortunately, there's going to be someone out there that's not going to like the way you look, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you have your hair, the way you wear your wraps, and so on and so on. But it doesn't matter about how they feel. It's matter about how you feel.
Absolutely.
So that was the major thing for me, is just really building up that self-confidence and that self-talk, and really looking in the mirror for the first time, besides like brushing my teeth and seeing if I have boogers or anything, but like actually embracing me.
Yes.
That was the major thing for me. And that's the major thing that I still do, because I am the person that I want to be. And, it takes time.
It does. It does take time. Mm-hmm. I think, thank you for sharing that. I think that is beautiful and beautiful to hear with those experiences coming from a man. I feel like often enough, we don't hear things like that, even though that is a true representation of what, no matter what your gender is, that is what needs to be done in order for you to really activate the change and for you to really just have a focused life and a more positive life, right? Because life will happen. Things will happen. But really being able to say that these are the practices that I've cultivated in order for me to just have better experiences. And so as we talk about better life outcomes and, sharing hope, I think one of the things in our community, we just don't hear enough from men. We don't know fully what men are always experiencing. I don't think that there oftentimes are enough space to be provided outside of, asking for an opportunity for you to perform. It's like, how do you all get fed?
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah. I wanted to piggyback off of that. It was something that, after my last attempt, which thankfully was 8 years ago, I was looking around to try to see, was there anyone that looked like me, that sounded like me, that was talking about these topics? I had no idea. My wife, she actually gave me a book, and it was from DMC, from Run DMC. And it was his book that he attempted suicide.
Wow.
So it's 10 ways not to kill yourself. And so I was like, wow, this is someone that looks like me. Like, he loves hip hop. Obviously, he's like DMC from Run DMC. That gave me the confidence to say, okay, cool. There's one person that looks like me. And he wasn't really talking about it as much. Like, the book is like a few years old. And so I was just like, okay, he's not talking about it as much. He's working on a comic book. I actually want to be that person to talk about, how I feel and be okay. Be okay being vulnerable. Be okay. Like, today I ain't got it. Right? Like, mentally, I'm not there. Right? Society have me on this pedestal. If I'm not making this, if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing enough. And then sometimes it's like, I just want to breathe.
Yeah.
I just want to cry. I'm just overwhelmed.
Yes.
I'm overwhelmed with life, and I just want to sit down and I want to cry, and it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
And so, after years of healing, I decided to not only be that voice, but actually show the face and say, look, man, I'm someone who struggled. You know, I'm someone who was a functional alcoholic for over a decade, was someone who attempted multiple times, but I'm still here, right? Now I learned techniques, this thing called coping skills. Like I learned that, right? And not only just one or two, I learned multiple. There's other ways to cope and talk about it. And it was one day I was at the barbershop, and my barber, you know, he knows what I do. He saw me, like, you know, shared a little bit of my story, and he was just like, you need to do more of that. Like, there's not too many of us that talk about it like that. He's like, you like, you're brave enough to share it. He's like, I know your DMs be like crazy with like, you know, like of guys hating. I'm like, no, my DMs actually be flooded of like, thanks, man, for sharing that. I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
So I was like, that gives me enough confidence and courage to keep on going. And then not only that, I do have a son, and I want to be his role model. So I want to show him, like, no matter how you feel, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay to experience those things. And that's, you know, going back to vulnerability, I think there will definitely it's going to take a lot to be able to get to the point to make full changes. But I think even just in what you're doing, it's enough, right? And I think if you were to touch 10 people, to infect like someone else, to be able to say, hey, or I won't say infect, but to infuse, you know, that knowledge in someone else, to be able to say, hey, this is okay. I think that it will make an easier process for our communities to feel seen and feel heard. But most importantly, our Black men. So thank you.
No problem. So before we go, you did mention that you like to write. And, you know, I did my little homework, and I saw that you was an author.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about your books and then any other projects that you do have going on. So please go ahead.
So, I mean, after the passing of my brother, I wrote The Butterfly and the Bully. And so that really pays homage to not only my life experiences as a child with being bullied, but then it tells the storyline of a young girl who loses her father. And so how she's able to navigate through that process, teaching children that there are, and people, right? Because books are for everyone.
Correct.
Really being able to provide a sense of connection, a sense of this is the best way for you to communicate, the best way to advocate for yourself, the best way to affirm yourself, and what that looks like. And so this book embodies all of that. And outside of the wonderful melanated characters that you'll see in the book with Yoruba-based names, it also has activities in the back of the book that teach you, you know, how do you feel? Like, I am, you know, who are you today? I am a warrior. I am a goddess. Gratitude prompts and intention setting. And so really all of the life skills were a good core amount of them that you would want your child or its, you know, their peers to be able to experience. I feel like over the 3 years that this book has been published, just to really be able to hear how these children are connecting with the storyline, and they get it. I mean, our babies are so smart. I don't think that we give them enough credit for the things that they experience. It's kind of going off subject, but it was even an aha moment for me this week. My husband and I, we took our son to like a yoga and sound bath session. And so we said that on Wednesdays we would go, shout out to LaSally, every Wednesday at 6:30 at the Vinoy Park, Wiley Park. She has her sound healing session and meditation. She asked us, you know, afterwards, how do we feel? And so in the beginning, he was a little shy, but to hear what he shared was like just a reference of an aha moment, you know, for us. He said that I feel surrounded by love. And, you know, really being able to give our children an opportunity to have a voice. So when we talk about the affirmations and just asking, you know, the conversation that we're having today, we're really able to discover a bit more about each other just by asking the right questions. And I think that in the books, in the self-help books and the trauma-informed tool books that I publish, I really want to leave room for people to discover who they are and their stories not to be told just based on what they've learned from someone else, but what are you learning about you today? And so whether it's for this book, of course, is for children, but I have some adult books that I'm working on that really help you discover what your life looks like. What do you want it to look like, and to claim victory in that?
Yeah, that's great. And thank you for sharing that. I think that's beautiful. Like, he felt love. And that's the point of this, right? I wanted to share stories so people can find a safe space to be who they are, but also be surrounded by love. Absolutely.
And finding safety, in that. I think there are so many things that affect our mental health, whether it's environmentally, financially, occupationally. And a lot of times I don't think that we anchor ourselves in identifying what that looks like because of life's calling, right? Or because of the expectations that either we place on ourselves or that life requires of us. So really, I think if it's one thing that I could really suggest as we're talking about healthier coping mechanisms and developing healthier processes for ourselves, is just don't be afraid to discover. Don't be afraid to play. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. All of these things. And us today sitting here, we're not perfect, right?
No, far from it.
This is definitely maybe a better version of ourselves from,
5 years ago.
From 5 years ago. But we're not equipped with everything. And I think really being able to take a stand and discovering what it is that really we enjoy in order for us to really just enjoy more, and being able to fill our cup in that, but knowing that we don't have to fill it alone.
Yes. And this is why I'm thankful that NAMI Pinellas, that they have created this window for us, right? To hey, sit down and let's share stories. Let's actually give some insight to the BIPOC community, because they do need a voice, right? We need a safe space where we can share, where we can see people that look like us, that can actually relate and show like, hey, look, man, like, I'm not, as you said, we're not perfect, but we are evolving. We learn, we use tools. And even for NAMI to sit down and have support groups, which I think is like amazing. And majority of their support groups, if not all, are peer-to-peer based. And for those who don't know, when it comes to peer-to-peer, that's someone with lived experience. So they definitely can relate. And that's something that I've learned. Like, I related more with people who actually went through something, right? Like, oh, you went through some of the things? All right, cool. So, we could talk about it. And then instead of, and then even also with that, but then realizing like what you did, you went out and, you was talking about like actually seeking help and professional help. And if it wasn't for someone that you respected, that you looked up to, that gave you that confidence, that gave you that like, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm not going to judge you. It is okay. If you want to talk about it, we can. If you don't, we don't have to. Either way, I'm here for you and I love you. And I think that is beautiful.
Absolutely.
So, with that being said, please tell everybody where they can find you at.
You can find me on social media at Lola B Morgan. You can also find me on my website at www. And you can also contact me at admin@agreeable. It has been my absolute pleasure, and I thank you for your time.
No, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Until then, next time.
Bye.